Alrighty. Doc here from North America. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, Mountain. How you doing? Let's see. Let's see. Oh, there's something we're having problems with. AUD. I'm not sure what the problem is. It seems like. Let me see if we can get AUD. For a couple weeks, we weren't able to get AUD out of nowhere. It just odd. It just stopped doing it. Let's go see. Uh, let's see. Mountain West. Let's see. How come I always have to be the first one? It's nice to be in front in line, isn't it? I always like to be first. Let's take a look and see. We have. What do we have up on here? We have one of the AUDs. What we were watching. Let's go over to it. That's the dollar index. So you can see the dollar index. Let's just widen that out a little bit, real quick. There's the dollar index heading down. We're heading towards the 101 area. You can see the same thing on Chicago Quant, where, well, actually it's bouncing back up a little bit, but it's been in that daily sell for a while and in that weekly sell. Now let's get over to AUD. It's fine. I know we have some AUD here somewhere. We used to have it on the spreadsheet, but the data stopped coming in for some reason for it. And now that started with the currency that we will not name. So I can get AUD with the yen. I can get AUD with anything else. Let's try this again. So let's get rid of that. Or let's do this. Let's do this instead. So we go to Euro. Make a copy of Euro. And let's see if we can get AUD in there and take a peek of it. And let's put it up on J4X at the same time. AUD. There it is right there at the top. Okay, so there you go. You can see AUD has been moving up, that's for sure. And then today it's wild. Wild and woolly. Let's turn off the hinky for a second just to get a flavor for the action. So they're slamming it down. It's gaining against... No. See, this is AUD dollar. So when this is going down, it is gaining against the dollar. Okay, cool. All right, so that's what we're seeing there. Let's turn that back on again. I'm getting banged. 58 minutes. How's that? There we go. All right, now let's go over to Chicago Quant. Let's see, we go all the way down. Yeah, for some reason it says it. Let me just double check this too. Where's that other mouse? There's the other mouse. Let's see if I can put it on there. So it's AUD, enter. Bonds, Forex. Let's see if it'll give me it on the Forex. Dollar. Add. Do you want to add USD pair to FX? Yes, there we go. Okay. There are no empty cells in current Forex layout. Okay. Do you want to replace the first one? Yes. There we are. There we go. Now I'm seeing the quote on it. All right. Now let's see if we can get it up on here. So activate. Let me just double check. Yeah, we used to have that for decades. I was following the AUD, and then all of a sudden it just stopped. Just like the... Oh, I know what I got to do. Close. Paste. Let's get that paste on there. Yeah, I followed it for decades. It's a really... What's kind of interesting about it is that a lot of people used to love doing the carry trade on it. And it was a big popular thing to trade here in the States on currencies for a long, long time. Okay, so here we go. Let's see if we can replace it now. AUD and dollar. Let's see what happens. There we go. Okay, good. It doesn't have a lot of back data, but obviously it's back in the fold again. So there's the buy. Wait a minute. What's missing here? Okay, so... Oh, I know what it is. It's doing a cross thing. Instrument. Do this one. AUD. Okay, that's better. There we are. All right, so... And look at that. I got to go. I got to go push data way back. You see there. You see that's accurate too. That is accurate, but there's not much history to it. It wasn't a buy for this move, obviously. Where'd the sell start? I can't tell because I don't have a histogram. We'll reload that in. Also, we do have the N. I think we can put the NZ. Let's do this. Let's make a copy of this and put the AUD NZD in. Copy. Paste. I have. What do I have here? You know what I do? I do have is. Let me go do this. Let's cancel that. And then let's go back to here. And there's that. So let's do. There's NZD AUD. And you're saying what? Hello. Hey, Robin. Hey, Metho. Let's see. AUD USD, AUD Swiss, and AUD CAD Mountain. Well, my comment is only since 7 a.m. That's when I start looking at charts. Okay. But let's just take a look at it. All right. So let's activate that. And let's put the AUD in there instead. Copy. And then paste. Now this is the NZD USD. No, Canada, that's what it is. NZD CAD, that's what that is. And so you can see it's been in a buy for a couple days. Is that matching up? We're gonna have to do more data thing on that, but let me just see what else we can do. I know I can get yen, which is really interesting. Let me just show you that. Oh, we said Swiss. Wonder if it's. I bet I have this. I bet that's in there. So let's put the Swiss in there. What was that? Swiss AUD. Let's try that. And then and let's see if we have CAD AUD. Let's try CAD AUD first. Let's see format. Setting. Let's see, was that AUD instrument? AUD. Yeah, there it is. We have AUD CAD. There it is. Because we used to follow that for people too. Yeah, see there it is up top. And let's do. Let's see, where's that at? That's AUD CAD in the bottom. Okay, close. And let's do it on top. Because you see the week filled in too. AUD CAD. And there it is there. That's that. You can see that it's been working its way down. It's been in a weekly sell since this top here. You see that. Hasn't been able to get out of it. And then you got your sells and so forth. There's another sell right there. That was a better one than this last one. And this first one was obviously winner chicken dinner. I guess it was this sell right there, really. And then you have the sell right here. It's been in the sell, and then 2 days ago it went into the buy, and now it's going back into the sell and going after this low here. And let's see how far back that low goes. Okay, so the low goes back to November. Interesting. What's that? A 15-minute and a 1 hour? Yeah, we can do that. Matter of fact, we probably can do that in the original since it goes back 3 days. So let's do this. Let me go over to here. And I have a currency in there, and we can just switch it around. There it is right there. There's the GBP cable. So what we can do is we can go like this. It was at AUD. There we are. And then, okay. And then that is the 1 minute. So let's put 15 minute in there. Settings. There's the 15 minute. 2 days back. Yeah, you can see that. It went into the sell right here. And it's been going down. And then it's turned up. I'm not sure I forget what these lines are. Let's just double check what those lines are. Moving average. Whoever was watching this last time they asked about it also was watching a moving average there. That's what that is. See, Mountain says, and time frame. Let's do the hourly too. You get at least 3 days of it, so that's cool. And we'll take a look at that too. Hourly and 1 hour, and we should get something out of that. There we go. It's not filling in all the way, but you can see we don't have enough back history for the hourly. Let's see what 30 minutes does. We might get something out of 30 minutes. There we are. Let's put 3 in there too. 3 days back. There we go. There's the 30-minute. So it went into the cell right here, and it's been in it ever since. The moving average broke down too, and now we're definitely playing with the buy. We went into the buy right here. You can see this moving average has curved. Whoever was watching this curve, I think it was what's his name from Kenya was watching this. That's what it was. So that's Tim, I think it was. There we go. So there's a 30-minute, and let's see if we can get the hour in there now, since I went back another day. Matter of fact, if I go 4 day, I don't think there's 4 day in there for us, but it just showed 3 days. Let's see. Oh, maybe not. Let's see. There you go. There's 4 days. There we go. There's your hourly. Went into the cell right there. So they're all aiming in the same spot, and now this hourly's trying to get into the buy. How's that? Same for NZD. AUD CAD is way down. True, has been a sell for some time. It's just a pullback, temporary. Okay. So, what makes it a pullback temporary? Where the like moving averages are, or the stochastic? What does that? I'm gonna have a sip of tea. I'll give you a chance to type something in. Because let's see. Let me read it again. True has been a sell for some time. This is just a pullback temporarily. Yeah, no, taking profits, in other words. I get it. Taking profits. Is that what you mean? Temporarily? Ah, the tea is good. That was the first of it today. All right. It's kind of neat. Let's see if we can go back more days. Because I think it went back, now that I think about it, if I put 8 days in there, I bet it shows more. I guess I should have been a little bit softer. Going, oh, there it is. Okay. So there's 8 days with the hourly. So it went into the buy right here. There was the buy right there. And the moving average did join in. That was nice. And then we went into an hourly sell here. And it went down all the way to here. And there's our buy right there. Because see, both of them are above the green line and the blue. This is the 3-5, but viewed in a different fashion, but it's still the same indication. A 3-5 together. And then you can see it turned up. And then we went into the sell right here. And it trends really nice. You know, both these things trend. Let's see, Mountain West says, well, it's so far down that a pop-up now. Okay, so it's a range thing you're following. Okay, is just taking profits or a pullback. Right, yeah, on the trend, on that trend. Okay, that's cool. Oh, looks like we lost the picture there. Let's add it on there again. There we go. Oop. And so there we go. Let's do this. Let's go over to there. And there it is right there. And so, yeah, you got that same gig going on. And that is the, the movement of it, you know. The movement of it. And that's the action we see. All right, yeah, some action there. And we've lost the currency that can't be named. That is not upticking anymore for some reason. Just not upticking. So, out of nowhere. They must have changed the law somewhere along the line, and now we're physically seeing it. I'm going to go for another cup of tea, or a sip of tea. There we go. Yeah, I didn't even understand why we lost the AUD. I thought that was odd. So let's go back to that AUD. I think we have 3 days of it. Let's see if I can get some more data on the back side of it. Yeah, so we go back. Looks like we go back about a month and a half when we tighten this up. Yeah, we go back about a month and a half, and that's it. And you can see it's just starting to fill in. We'll try to fix that up so you can see it tomorrow. What's tomorrow? Thursday, right? Yeah. So we're already at Happy to Hump Day. Remember, it's a 3-day week, so tomorrow is officially Friday. We won't be broadcasting on Friday, but we will be back on Monday. Indeed. All right. So now, what do we got to say about that? I guess that's it, huh? Do you have any other questions? I'm happy to answer them, or at least explore them with you. Remember, it's not as much as me answering them, as much as we both explore them. We take a look at them, try to understand them. It's a conversation. You know, it's not a contest. You know what I mean? We have a conversation here. All right, now from there, I guess we go back to the euro. So let's see what the euro's doing this morning. Euro is holding up fairly well there. You can see that. In that buy for now 7 days. And the weekly buy with the fast, that's what this really is in the end, is where the green and the blue is plus together through the histogram. And once it starts to jump through there, we know something's coming, especially when it's above the manifold right here. So we have not really incorporated those rules in writing. We've been, like I said, I've been exploring this since 2015-16. Then I watched it for it. It didn't make a lot of sense to me in the beginning. Then I found a way to control it. I guess it was like 2018. 2018, I wrote it in 2015. 2018, I started trying to use it. And then I went back and forth with it. And then up until about 6 months ago, I still didn't understand it. I took apart the code and figured it out finally, what I was looking at. I didn't understand what I was looking at. I didn't change the code. I just didn't understand what I was looking at. Then I realized that the blue is the 3. I always thought that the green was the 3. And I thought the blue was the 5. So it's the reverse. So now I know why it's the fast. Well, I would look at it and go, this doesn't make any sense. How can the slow be fast? So I don't incorporate things if I need to back test them for years. I back tested my math on expanding galaxies for 32 million years. I've back tested my math on the minute with isotopes, with the particles. I've back tested my math on stocks and for 90 years, So I'm not real fast to say, okay, follow this, until I can get a real good grip and realize after 32 million years, obviously it's working. Or in this case here, on stocks for the last 90 years, it's been working through all kinds of markets. I started off in 1928, right before the crash, to try to get a feel for it. So, yeah, that's the way we roll around here. So it's like 95 years. So of the start of a new trend, but we don't know that yet. Let's see. Okay, yeah. So let's see. We're talking about the AUD again. So the AUD back in filling. Well, our math is saying, on a short-term basis, it's really good. It gives you a good clean trend. Let's go back to that. It's really clean. I'm very impressed with it. Right there. The hourly trend is a very healthy one. Once it goes into a buy, it stays in there for hours and goes up in value. And when it goes into a sell, it goes down in hours. And then when it goes back into the buy right there, it goes up for hours. It gains. It's not a great win, but it's a win. Every one of these have been a win. Then the fourth one here, it goes into a sell. It's a big win, just like it was a big win when it went into the buy here. And I think we can scroll back a little bit and see what was before that. Yeah, so it goes into the sell right here. Is that it? 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. So it goes into sell here. And it's the sloppy one, but it's a winner chicken dinner. There's no doubt about that. It's just not easy in the beginning. Now here is the, let's see, where's the first buy? The first buy is right here. It's a win over 1 hour, and then after that, it tries to go into sell, fails, goes back up again, and then goes into sell right here. Now on these intradays, the red and green dots are differently read because it's not as elongated, the wave. So what happens, the red and green doesn't stop you from being long, whereas on a daily it does. Because a daily is 24 hours. There's a lot of information in the red and the green. All it tells us is that some action is coming. So in this case here, they give us the red and green there, and then sure enough, the next one is a big action one. And then you get red and green. It turns the trend, and then we don't get a red and green in here. Let's turn off that moving average. Let's see what we do here. Format moving average. Cancel indicator. Oh, that's two moving averages too. There we are. So there's two red and greens, and then we get this massive move up. You get a red and green here, and you get the more breakdown. You get the red and green here, you get more breakdown, and then it tries to change the trend, and it goes up a little bit, but doesn't give us that. Sometimes it just doesn't. It's interesting. It's like I call it a vortex. Reminds me of a weather vortex. That's what it reminds me. And then you can see, like right there, there's the red and green. Put a straddle on, and obviously you're going to win real quick. Low volatile. Like 3-day expiration type thing, 4-day expiration. Same thing here. Put a straddle on right there. Obviously you win again. Right there, you don't. Right there, you do. It goes up. And then this one didn't do it at all. There's none at the top of that. So sometimes it's like now look at that. You're getting that weather vortex type thing, where two areas are meeting. So two surfaces are meeting. That's what our math is all about, a surface. So I hope that all makes sense. Does that sound good or what? Or the start of a new trend? I hope it does. Yeah, weather vortex. I got that idea when I was taking meteorology. I had meteorology 1 and 2, something like that. Only physics people could take it. Oh, and somebody had physical chemistry could take it too, but the director wouldn't allow anybody else to take it. It was just us. So we're very popular. The Navy was always coming and gobbling a couple people up, or at least one person a year for the nuclear program. We have second largest physics department on the East Coast. So, as they used to say, more PhDs than Harvard. So, yeah. So I got that idea with the red and green dots from the vortex with my math combined together. Let's see. Mountain says two surfaces are meeting. Well, I guess it's weather. It might make sense, but in currencies. Yeah, well, that's because my math measures surface. And what it does then, it measures that object on that surface. And so you can have two surfaces. Can you have two surfaces? You can have two surfaces because just as you see in the galactic plane, you see the Fibonacci spiral when looking at galaxies. Think of them like you're looking down on it, not. No, it's the other way around. When you see the galaxy spiral, you're looking directly at it on a two-dimensional surface. Imagine you were doing it on 3 dimensions. That's what it is. So imagine you're looking at it sideways, like looking at a sandwich in your hand. You're looking at the sandwich, you can see the height. You basically, as you grab to put it in your mouth, you can see the length and the width. Whereas when you see those galaxies, most of the time those pictures are only showing you a 2-dimensional, and that is height and is it height and length, or it's actually 1-dimensional. It's just a picture. So you're not looking down. When you're looking at an ocean, you're seeing all 3 dimensions. you see the waves. You see it go down, you see it go up, you see it go down, you see it go up. Well, those galaxies are moving in the same way. Everything in our existence moves the same way. They go up and down. They're moving in a three-dimensional form with a fourth component of measuring speed and time. So that's how you get that. Oh, we lost it again. We're doing more talking than we are looking at charts. I say that now. So that's how you get two surfaces are meeting. So in other words, you're looking at, so when what my histogram is doing is identifying when the surface changes. So it's changing, it's at the top of the peak, or it's at the bottom of its range, I guess you could say. It has a natural range, but it's not finite, it's infinite. Imagine having a range that's infinite. So in other words, it's not like stochastics or MACD where you're going from 20 to 80 and you only can go to 100 to 0. Our math is going from infinity to infinity minus. And that's not time travel backwards. It's just direction. So in other words, something can go forward and then can move back and it can go forward again. But it's not going back in time. It's going back in physical space or slowing down and increase. It could be even more considered the reduction and increasing in direction as a minus and a plus. And so like inertia, that type of thing. Anyway, now you really have taken me out into the... You allowed this. We're going to blame you, Mountain, for me getting crazy. So that's what it comes down to. You allowed me to get crazy to explain the math. That's the problem. Once you open that door, I get out there. You got to go ask me look at something else. Or I just keep on rambling. I forget that this is not a lab and an experiment. All right, anyhow, let's go to the euro. And it's your fault, and not me. It's not. This is the way. This is the way. All right, a little Star Wars there and a little biblical. This is the way is in the Bible. That's where they got that. This is the way. All right, there we go. So now, and it's in all of them. The Quran, it's in all of them. This is the way. All right, there you go. And it's in Star Wars. It's the Mandalorian. This is the way. All right, I should lose the rest of you after that, I imagine. All right, now you can see here, we looked at the euro. It's looking very firm. Did it take out that high? No, it hasn't taken out that high yet, back of February. So we'll see if they do that. Let's go put it up on J4X. We'll put the euro up there. Now, all I keep on hearing in my head is, this is the way. Oh, jeez. All right, there's the euro. Now, from the euro, you can see this is at the top end of its range. So it goes from 0 to 100. That's what this does here. And then what we do is we measure two different surfaces by looking at a fast one and a slow one. And that's pretty much what I was really talking about when I'm saying that it's not going back in time. It's just following the rate of change, its velocity. And the velocity itself tells me information, tells me what's going on. The way it changes its velocities, the fast versus the slow. All right, and that's why you see it on the charts here. So now let's go to cable. This is the way. All right, you can see the cable's been in a buy now for weeks. What is that, like 14 days, something like that? And the weekly's been in a buy. It almost made it in there, both of them, back on the 10th of March. It just missed it. See, the green is a minus. It's a minus 0.00020. Remember, this was written for atomic theory, so the numbers can. I've limited it. It doesn't go out like 10, 11 digits, but it can be weird. So I've limited it down to I think 5 or 6. And that is the cable. Let's see what the cable's doing over on J4X. And there is the cable right there. I'm amazed anybody stuck around after me going on my ramble. Thank you for listening. I will try to straighten out. Didn't mean to get too crazy here. And then the cable, As much as they seem to be on the economically in the wrong direction, they're gaining against the dollar, and that's what we're always saying here. We expect to see other currency pairs gain against the dollar overall now, especially with them breaking those lows. The Brexit situation, making those lows last year in the all-time lows in the euro. They've like cleaned out those sellers in a sense. They're gone. Or let's put it this way, they're not as aggressive as they used to be. For years we had people come in here, Doc, when's it going to go to 1? When's it going to go to 1.00 in the euro? When's it going to? I think it's going to go to 1.0. People would be saying to me for years, oh, I think in the next 6 months it's going there. And finally, it did it last year. We finally had it go and break down to the 96 area, 0.96. And now it's zooming back up healthily, up to 120, what's it, like 112 now or something like that in the euro? What's it, 110? Let's just take a quick look again. Obviously, it's 109.57. Okay. Notice in many ways I look at the direction. I don't really pay attention to the price per se, until I'm doing an option on it. When I'm doing option and binaries, then I pay attention. But when I'm just talking about technical analysis here, we're just looking at the trends of the math of what it's trying to tell us more than anything else. And then when we see resistance, like I heard someone say, one of the fund managers that I enjoy. I never met them, but I see him on TV, and he was saying that a lot of money is lined up on the S&P 500 at the 4,020 area to buy, and to sell at the 4,180 area to sell. And so that's why the orders are out there to sell when it gets that high and buy when it gets that low. And obviously, then what happens is you need that extra energy to come in where the community starts to say this is not the way anymore. And there's that word again, the way. And then what they do is they step up and they take it through the resistance up top, or they knock it down through the support down below. So, yeah, I have to watch my comments, true. Yeah, no, you have to watch. No, you just got to keep on asking me another question. Take me into another product. That will stop me from going into Alice in Wonderland of the math. I'll be reading just the math. But if you leave me on a subject, then I start to extrapolate. I start to look. I start to explain to myself out loud what it's doing. I start to get lost in the math itself. I start going all scientist on you. And that. Sometimes that can get kind of crazy around here with me going scientist. Next thing you know, I'm talking about string theory and Gauss and the combination of or bootstrapping. End result is forget about it. Let's keep on marching. All right, so from there we go to the Swiss, and you can see. Oh, there you go. We thought that Swiss was going to take out that bottom range, and there it did. It's doing it now with that sell, and we're in the weekly sell. It's been doing that nice and fine. Let's put it up on J4X. All right. There you go. All right. There you go. Yeah, tangents. I can wander off on tangents. There you go. There is the Swiss. And on J4X, you can see it's already down at its bottom of its range. So that doesn't surprise us any in the sense that we thought that they would probably take out the lows. But, they stay inside that envelope that I talk about. The central banks across the planet seem to have all these products locked in some type of envelope or channel. They want to keep things. That's what QE is all about to begin with. It's the idea of stability. So that resistance and support area thing is policed by the treasuries and the finance ministers across the planet, backed up by the central banks. There's the yen. We thought this thing would break down. This was just basically a profit-taking thing there. It's in the weekly sell. We're in the daily sell now for a third day. And let's put it up on J4X. There we are. Let's see, what is it? This is the yen. And there we are. So you can see the pressure that's on it. I would be surprised that if the dollar could do any, like I guess there might be a range being building, like the 105 to the par, maybe. I'm really concerned about that envelope or range when it comes to the dollar. I think that they're not going to let it, as much as you and I and everybody here knows that the dollar should be lower. I don't know if they're going to let it get too low. There's not enough energy out there. That's why I guess they're hoping the BRICS can do something. If they bring in Mexico into the BRICS, they're going to have a real currency finally in the BRICS that actually trades and is an oil country. 5 million barrels a day. That could have more influence. But with the way the BRICS stand right now, you got the yuan. It's a fixed thing, so that's not going to help any. You got the ruble, the currency that should not be named. That's banned almost everywhere. And then the Brazilian real, I can't even get a quote on the Brazilian real on the J4X. I mean, no one can get quotes on that thing. So that's the basis of the BRICS. But if they bring in the Mexican peso, there's a real currency, and that could have some influence on dollar. In other words, they could be selling dollars buying brick because you can trade the Mexican peso. And so how when you like the dollar index, here's something we've never really talked about here. And hey, Slovak, how you doing? Hello there, Doc. Would you say that the dollar CAD would pull back together with all the U.S. dollar pairs? Didn't follow this from the beginning. We find that's a really good question, and I'm going to just throw this out there first. I want to answer that last part because it just hit me in the head. What was it? The range. I forgot what I was talking about now on that range thing. But one thing is for sure, they're not going to let the Mexican peso and the brick. If they bring the Mexican peso into the brick, then they could actually probably put some force into with the other four countries. They could probably have some effect. But I know it is. How and then I'm going to answer Slovak's question about the CAD. We'll go back and look at the CAD. Matter of fact, we'll put the CAD up there right now for you. We'll skip by the. There's the CAD. And the CAD, is gaining against the dollar. So when it's going down, it's gaining against the dollar. Now, my thought is, we all look at the dollar index, and that dollar index is made up of 6 currencies. Okay, it's not made up of 50 currencies, and the number one currency is the euro. And then the second, and that's like 53% of the index. So you got the euro is 53% of the index, and then something like 20 some odd percent is the yen, dollar yen. That's the second biggest thing in it. Then the third biggest thing is the British pound and the dollar. That's the third biggest thing in it. That's like 14% or something like that, 15%. And then to get to 100%, then you go to the Canadian, the fourth one here that we're looking at. The Canadian is something like 8 or 10% of the index. And then you're at 92%. Okay, and then you have the Swiss franc, which is 4%, and you have the kroner dollar is 4%, and that makes up the dollar index. Okay, well, if they build the BRICS right, what'll happen is that the Mexican peso will be probably take the position of the euro in the dollar index. It'll be the bulk. It'll be over 50% of the index. And then, because it's an oil country and it has a decent GDP, as much as everybody wants to pretend China is, this major country, it's probably got the 5th or 6th largest GDP in the world, something like that. It's not. The second largest in the world is the euro, the European Union. That's $21 trillion. And there's no way when you're measuring the Chinese yuan, it's fixed, so it's not floating. So in other words, if you hold it around 6, 7, in that area all the time, you're not really seeing the real GDP. All you're seeing is what they want you to believe is the GDP. So in other words, if it was floating and trading at 30, then all of a sudden, then their economy's about the same size as Germany, that type of thing. So, or Britain, something like that. All right, now let's go to Slovako and answer that. All right, so now Slovako says, he or she says, hello there, Doc. Would you say that the dollar CAD would pull back together with all dollar pairs? Let's see. Let's think about that. So the CAD. So in other words, you're saying that the CAD would lose against like the CAD New Zealand, the CAD Aussie. You're saying, would it lose against the CAD yen, that type of thing, right? So you're saying the CAD will fall too. Huh. That's an interesting question. How do we derive an answer to it? Let me think. How do we subtract something to figure out what the mean is to it? The mathematical mean. I would think not off the top of my head. I would think that what makes the CAD firm to begin with is the fact that it's bracketed basically by the United States. The United States is north of it, and the United States is south of it. Okay, so their defense budget is relatively low. They're protected almost for free, and they may be our second largest trading partner. I would imagine that, and China's probably. I wonder who's our largest trading partner. It probably is Canada, I would think, and then it would probably be Mexico, and then from there it would be China. We did over $500 billion in trading with China last year, and something like they took in 300 and some odd billion, and we took in like 188 billion or something like that. So I wonder I guess that would be the first way to try to figure that out. Let's see, if we look and find who, how much Canada does. I mean, they put, oil really works differently with Canada and the United States in some ways. Like, in other words, they ship oil from Canada to one spot, and we do it in another spot. In other words, we trade spots, like doing trading certificates, like they do at the NYMEX in New York when they're taking delivery of oil and heating oil and gasoline and all that. They trade certificates of delivery, and we do that with the Canada. So that, and then you think about all the imports and exports going back and forth. There's car manufacturing up there and oil back and forth, and you got lumber, and you got grains like sorghum and canola. There's a lot of trading going on with the states and them, and manufacturing. I bought my backhoe. I needed to replace a window with it. I ended up buying it out of Montreal. This was like 9 months ago. So, it's like nothing. Matter of fact, it got caught in customs for a while. So, it was stuck in customs for 3 days because they just make sure it's not like drugs or something like that, I guess. But anyway, so that's a good question. I think what I'm going to do is I come back tomorrow, and what we'll do is we will take a look at the amount of trade between Canada and the United States and try to get a feel for that. That would be one way I would try to break it down. Together with all U.S. pairs, didn't follow this from the beginning. Let's see. So, would you say that the dollar CAD would pull back together with all dollar pairs? So, in other words, the CAD would lose. I don't think so. I think it would be because their currency floats. Now, if it was China, no, because if you don't have a floating currency, no. And I guess you could say, wow, we try to still understand the real. How do they not quote the real? I don't understand that at all. It's bad as bad as the Chinese yuan. At least the ruble floats. It's at least you can see it. So no, let me look at that, and then we'll try to do the math, and we'll try to go back and take a look at that. The dollar, the dollar it does. I think what I'm really concerned about more than anything else is that I think that the envelope that we always talk about and we follow on the webinar here since the starting of QE. Basically, I'm sorry, I did a sip of the tea again. Sorry about that. Um, they have an envelope. When Mr. Trump was in office, it was finally talked about. Mr. Trump talked about it. His Secretary of Treasurer did, Mnuchin. He would talk about it every quarter. They would rate who is manipulating their currency. There, we lost it again. Who is manipulating their currency and who's not? And so the only way you can measure if someone is manipulating their currencies, you've got to have a range. You have to have a defined range. And so that tipped me off that there's a envelope or a defined range. And they would come out, and once in a while someone would be labeled. I mean, like one time I think Britain was labeled as manipulating. There was one time China was labeled as, but overall, most of the time they were not manipulating their currency as far as the Federal Reserve was concerned, you know. So when we look at the Canadian, as we're looking at it right here, and let's put the oil up on the market, the Canadian follows, we always emphasize this, the Canadian has a natural tendency to follow the oil market. And so as the oil is going up, that's probably what's putting the energy into the Mexican peso. You know, when we could probably do the same thing with the Mexican peso. You know, we're trying to break this question down, so let's, you know, that would be a good answer too to it. Let's put the Mexican peso up there. So what has the Mexican peso done? It's been going down against the dollar. In other words, it's gaining against the dollar as oil, and there's oil, as oil has been going up on J4X there. Okay? So both countries are very, you know, their population and everything is, you know, a real comfort level for the amount of oil production they have. You know, they're big numbers. I think Canada produces over 3 million barrels a day. And Mexico produces over 5 million. Both have the ability to produce more. And their populations are nowhere near, like, you know, what's it, 30 or 40 million Canadians, 50 million Canadians, something like that. That's a small number, you know, compared to other oil countries. And then the same thing with Mexico. I think is there 100 million Mexicans maybe? I don't know. You know, so I mean, it's, you know, you know, when you're producing 5 million barrels a day, that's a major factor to your currency. So we watch the Canadian, the way oil goes, and so forth, and possibly the Mexican peso to some extent. In other words, when we saw this move here, they announced that they were going to go into the BRICS. You could see the volatility really explode in here. There was some real nervousness about the idea that they were going to be part of the BRICS, probably because people like me were thinking about it and probably contemplating it. And my first inclination was, well, they'll be the most powerful currency in the BRICS. But now that you've asked that question, we have to basically say, how much would it be in the BRICS? You know, not just that it's going to be the most powerful currency in the BRICS, but how much will it be in the BRICS? Probably when you index it, it's probably going to be over 50% of the whole index. It's going to be the way the euro is against the dollar. So when you look at the dollar index, it's going to be over 50% of the... I think the dollar index, the euro could be as high as 57% of the dollar index. And I would have to say that if I was going to develop a BRICS index, well, the Mexican peso would be the major player there, not Mexico, not Russia or China. You know, and the yuan, God, not the yuan, the krona, not the krona, it would make the krona look fat and strong, you know, because the real, I can't even get quotes on the real. So what do you do with that? You can't even get any real free-floating quotes on the yuan. It's just, you know, what the government fixes it at, you know. And then same thing with the ruble. You know, the ruble's gone from, like, you know, 4 to 7 or 8 to 80. You know, it's like the Turkish lira here. You know, the Turkish lira has gone from 1 to 20. At least it floats. You know, that right there, the Euro Turkish lira floats. But when we put it up on the screen here, you know, it's like it's nowhere near. They're not really free market products except for the Mexican peso. And then when we go into this, so when we put a monthly in, right here, this is what the yuan would look like, and this is what the ruble does look like. Okay, you know, from nothing to the moon. And the yuan doesn't look that way. When you look at the yuan, it's pretty well fixed. You know, it's really tight. You know, when you really look at it. I mean, that range is between 6 and 7. It should be more like between 6 and 35. But it's a fixed product, so they're using the cash. Hence why they have a $1 trillion worth of bonds, or $880 billion worth of bonds. They need that money to back up their currency or their transactions. I guarantee you that when they talk about being a world reserve currency, they probably say, guess what? We have almost $1 trillion worth of bonds. People go, okay, good. We'll trade your currency as long as you're backing it up with that. That's that crazy oxymoron. But yeah, this should be like 6 to like 35, not 6 to 7. I mean, that's not realistic at all for their economy. All right, so does that make any sense to you? And I'm going to go look at the exports and imports of Canada into the United States. I guess we could Google that right now even. We could probably Google that and get a flavor of what that is. See if it's $500 billion. Let's see. Let's go. And what do we got up on there? So from there, let's just, for those that do follow the rhythm, there is the ZAR, the South African Rand. It's not really moving with gold that well at all, is it? It should be way down. This is that political problem they have down there right now. So that's why we have it written on the chart. Politics, $500,000 in cash. So it's messed up that whole pairs trade of gold against the South African Rand. Now let's just Google trade, Canada-U.S. trade. Let's see how much that is. Just a general idea. U.S. Canadian trade. $1.9 billion a day. Strength of Canada-U.S. relations was demonstrated by impressive bilateral trade approximate. So that's at basically $2 billion, $1.9 billion a day along the world's longest undefended border. Energy trade, the largest component of cross-border commerce. All right, so. And then what we have to do is we look at that, and then we look to see how much trade they do with the rest of the world. Let's do that. Now, that says it's equal in trade with China. China does about half a trillion a year with the United States, back and forth. And the trade balance is that thing that you measure. They do 2 to 1 against us. We buy 2 to 1 more from them than they sell to us, or they buy from us. And so now let's see, Canada world trade. Let's see what that is. World trade Canada. Let's see what that says. World Trade Organization says it's not as easy. Canada and the World Trade. Let's see how much is world trade with them. I love how they hide numbers after a while. Let's try to Google it a different way. But I think that's the answer. Once we can figure out the two of those, let's say we know that the United States now does about $2 billion a day in trade, which is about $750 billion a year. It's bigger than Canada, bigger than China. China does 500 and something last year billion, right? So 2 times 365. So what is that? That's 730. So it does about a quarter trillion more in trade than China and America. Now we got to just figure out what the rest of Canada's trade is. Now, if it's see, let's go back again, and then we'll be able to basically answer your question. How much world trade? Let's see. How much world trade does Canada do with the U.S.? How much world trade Canada? Let's see. How much Canada, how much trade with the world? That's what we want. Cut. All right, here it is. Canada and the United States trade $2 billion in goods, services. Two-way trade services total is about $762.8 billion in 21. Bilateral investment. U.S. 934. Canada were nearly 364 million. Okay, but they're not giving me the overall. All right, so how much trade Canada trades with the world? Let's see what that says. Canadian export goods, services combined reached. That's still the U.S. No, wait a minute. 729 billion. Okay, so as much as it trades, I think this is trying to tell us, as much as it trades with the U.S., the rest of the world trades basically the same amount almost. They're almost equal. It's a little less. So it's like 735 billion with the U.S. and 729 billion with the world. Okay? Minus the U.S. How much trade Canada trades with the world minus the U.S.? Trades with the world minus the U.S. Let's see. State of trade. Yeah, I think that's what it is. So that's what that comes down to. So now we go back to your question, and that is, would they fade the CAD with the dollar? I say no. A little, but no. Not. I think it would be equal with all the rest of the. No, I'd say no. I think the answer is no. And it's because they make as much trades with other countries as they do with the U.S. So that would just makes sense to me. You know, when trying to fundamentally figure out the way it would work. Does that make sense to you? After I've chewed your ear off, you probably ran away and thought, oh my God, this guy's out of his mind. Anyway, traders, I think we're at the end of this rope. So this is Doc. We will see you tomorrow, same time, same channel. I hope somebody comes back tomorrow after this ramble today. And that's how we're going to label this one, too, is not Doc's Ramble, but we'll label it as Dollar CAD and World Trade. I think that's the best way to describe this. How about this? BRICS, Canadian, and World Trade. Thank you. I appreciate that. All right. I will see you guys tomorrow. Happy trails to you until we meet again tomorrow. Happy trails to you, to all our trading friends. Rename the channel to Doc's Ramble. Yeah, my riff. Exactly. I agree. All right, traders. Have a safe and smart trading day. Catch you all later.